All right, so are you ready to jump into the deep end of the holiday pool?
Let's do it. I'm ready to get festive Sedaris style.
Perfect. Because today we are diving deep into Holidays on Ice by David Sedaris.
Oh, a classic. It's the perfect blend of humor and social commentary for, well, for surviving the most wonderful time of the year. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I think everyone has that one family member or holiday tradition that just makes you shake your head and chuckle, you know?
Yeah.
And Sedaris captures that feeling perfectly.
Absolutely. And he's not afraid to push the boundaries, which is what makes his writing so funny and thought-provoking.
Exactly. And, speaking of pushing boundaries, I always think of SantaLand Diaries first when I think of this book. His experience as that Macy's elf, I mean, it's
Oh
legendary.
yeah, it's a must read. It's like a peek behind the curtain of that manufactured holiday cheer. You know, all the glitz and the forced smiles.
It makes you wonder what really goes on behind those cheerful holiday displays, you know? I mean, Vomit Corner.
Oh yeah, that's a Sedaris classic.
Huh.
Right. I mean, who hasn't had a moment where they just wish there was a designated spot for, well, for all the holiday mishaps?
And it's not just the mess, right? He talks about that security training with the over-the-top videos of like disgruntled former employees.
Right, which is hilarious, but it also kind of makes you think about, the not so merry side of seasonal work and how disposable those jobs can feel.
For all the craziness Sedaris goes through as an elf, you
Yeah.
got to admire his ability to find humor in those situations. Like when that kid starts throwing nickels at him.
Yeah, he's a master of finding the funny and the frustrating, even when it comes to, well, let's say challenging customers.
Okay, so moving on from Santaland, Sedaris's family stories are just a whole other level of holiday mayhem, and strangely relatable, I have to say.
Totally. I mean, Season's readings to our friends and family is like a master class in dysfunctional holiday letters, the Dunbars and the Cottinghams.
Yeah.
It's a comedic rivalry for the ages.
It's like everyone's worst nightmare neighbor situation amplified, times 1,000 and set during the holidays.
And that whole gift-giving competition, I mean, a travel sauna, who comes up with this
Well,
stuff?
Sedaris does. It's just brilliant satire. Like
Yeah.
he pokes fun at those societal expectations and how we sometimes get caught up in the whole materialism of the season.
And then there's the twist with the twins, which I won't spoil, but let's just say things take a very unexpected turn.
It's a Sedaris story. What did you expect?
Ah.
Speaking of the unexpected, you have to talk about Dinah, the Christmas whore.
Oh my gosh. Such a classic. The name alone, it's like what is this story going to be about? And the way he introduces this unexpected guest into his family's Christmas celebration. I mean,
It's hilarious.
yeah.
But it also shows, how Sedaris and his family just embrace the unconventional.
Right.
They don't shy away from the quirky, the different.
Right. It's kind of heartwarming in a weird way, like they find a place for everyone at their table, even Dinah.
Well, let's just say they're not your typical Christmas card family, which makes their stories even more fun to read.
It's true. They're definitely one of a kind.
Oh, yeah.
So, speaking of those unconventional families, it's hard not to think about the Tom Keys and Us and Them. Like,
Yeah.
I a family with no TV in this day and age.
Oh, yeah. That one. That one is just so fascinating, right? Because it really makes you think about our own relationship with technology. Like
Mm.
how much is too much.
Totally. And, Sedaris is great at highlighting those little hypocrisies. Like, here he is, fascinated by this family that's different, but at the same time, there's a little judgment there too,
Yes, he was a kid, right?
Yeah.
But you do see that shift in his perspective.
Huh.
As he starts to get to know them, you see him sort of questioning his own assumptions, which I think that's part of what makes Sedaris so great. He's willing to be self-aware.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder how many other Tomkeys are out there, people and families living their lives in ways we might not understand or agree with, but who are perfectly content.
It's a good reminder to be open-minded, right? Especially during the holidays.
Absolutely. And speaking of open-mindedness, Jesus Shaves is another one that just cracks me up every time.
Trying to explain the Easter Bunny in French class, I mean, what could go wrong?
It's hilarious. It's like a crash course in cultural differences and how some things just get lost in translation,
Yeah.
especially religious traditions.
Like, seriously, try explaining a giant bunny delivering chocolate eggs to someone who's never heard of that tradition before.
I know, right? And Sedaris does it with such wit and self-deprecation. He just owns the awkwardness of the whole situation.
Okay, so we've talked about the lighthearted stuff, but Sedaris also touches on some some darker themes in this collection.
Yeah. The Monster Mash definitely comes to mind. I mean, working in a medical examiner's office during the holidays, not exactly cheerful. Right.
Right. But even there, he manages to find humor.
That's the thing about Sedaris. He can find the funny in the macabre. Like those captions he talks about. Extensive mildew on the face of a recluse. I mean, come on.
It's dark, I'll give you that. But it's also kind of strangely poetic. Like it makes you think about those everyday tragedies and how we process them.
Yeah, and he kind of does the same thing in Based Upon a True Story, right? Where he takes on like the whole entertainment industry and that obsession with real life drama.
Yeah, that one's a bit of a satire. He's poking fun at how stories can be twisted and exploited for profit.
And he does it in such a clever way. That whole scene with the Hollywood executive crashing the church service. Oh my gosh, it's so spot on.
Okay, but speaking of holiday exploitation,
Yeah.
we can't forget about Christmas Means Giving. I mean, the title alone is kind of ironic, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally. It's like a commentary on the whole concept of charitable giving. You know how it can become like a competition and how sometimes people's motivations might not be so pure.
Right, right. It's like he's saying, "Hey, look, sometimes those good deeds are more about ego than actual generosity."
Exactly. And it's
But
all done with a wink and a nod. Sedaris never hits you over the head with his message. He just lays it out there and lets you make your own judgments.
it's pretty amazing, right, how Sedaris can just take these
Mhm.
everyday situations, these holiday traditions, and turn them into these hilarious social commentaries.
Yeah, he's like a master observer.
Yeah.
He sees those little details, those quirks that most of us just miss, and then he blows them up into these hilarious and often insightful stories.
Like 6 to 8 Black Men. I mean,
Mhm.
just the title alone makes you want to know more, right?
Oh, that's a classic. It's where he compares the American Santa Claus tradition with the Dutch Sinterklaas and Zwarte Piet.
Which is fascinating because it really makes you think about how traditions evolve and how something that's perfectly normal in one culture can be seen as well as problematic or offensive in another.
And he does it in a way that's informative but also really funny.
Yeah.
He doesn't shy away from the awkwardness or the potential for controversy.
Which is what makes
This
him
way-
so great, right? I mean, he's willing to tackle those tough topics,
Yeah.
those things that make people uncomfortable.
And he does it with humor, which I think is really important,
Hmm.
because it allows us to approach these issues in a way that's not so heavy-handed.
It's like he's inviting us to laugh at ourselves, to question our assumptions, and to maybe even see the world a little differently.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes Holidays on Ice such a great read, especially during the holidays. It's a reminder that things don't have to be perfect to be meaningful.
And that sometimes the most memorable moments are the ones that are a little messy, a little unconventional.
Absolutely. The ones that make you laugh and make you think all at the same time. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, if you're looking for a book that will do all of that and more, I highly recommend checking out Holidays on Ice.
It's the perfect antidote to all that saccharine holiday cheer.
And with that, we're wrapping up our deep dive into the wonderfully weird world of David Sedaris.
We hope you enjoyed it.
And that maybe, just maybe, you'll be inspired to embrace a little bit of that Sedaris-style humor in your own holiday celebrations this year. Just to keep things interesting.
Right. After all, 'tis the season to be jolly, but a little laughter never hurts.
Well said.